Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at something a lot of trail riders grapple with. Our listener loves their regular full suspension bike, hitting grade 3, 4, even 5 tracks, but they're thinking, maybe an e-mountain bike.
Yeah, it's a big decision. So we're diving into their specific questions. Will it tank my fitness? Will I even want to ride my regular bike anymore?
Exactly. And, what are the real pros and cons for that kind of riding? Should you go all out on a top spec e-bike, or is mid-range enough?
Plus the big ones. Will the old bike just gather dust?
Yeah.
And maybe slightly awkwardly, will my mates ditch me?
Yeah, the social side. So our mission today is to unpack all of this using the info we've gathered and really help you figure out the key things you need to answer to make the right call.
Right. We've got a mix of stuff, expert reviews from places like Bike Radar, Canyon, insights from forums like Reddit, YouTube channels, even some studies on the fitness side. We want to cut through the noise and focus on what matters for your situation.
Okay, let's jump right in with that first big worry. Fitness. There's definitely this idea floating around, isn't there? Like, we saw on Reddit someone saying eMTBs take very little physical effort, just cruising along.
That's the common perception, for sure. But it's a bit simplistic when you dig into it. The New York Times piece we saw actually suggested they can give you an excellent aerobic and cardiovascular workout, even if you're already a fit mountain biker.
Which sounds kind of backwards, right? How does getting help make you fitter?
Well, think about it this way. Some riders, like Tyron Slothrop on Reddit, mentioned their heart rate actually being higher on the e-bike. Why? Because they were riding faster, riding for longer, tackling more climbs in one go.
Ah, okay, so the assistance lets you push your overall output higher, even if individual sections feel easier.
Precisely. And you control that assistance, right? Reasonable Broccoli pointed out you can just dial it down if you want more of a workout or crank it up when you hit that killer climb. It's adjustable.
Makes sense. You choose the effort level.
Yeah, and Jay Curie had a great point about mid-power e-bikes, using them in lower modes. Perfect for those longer, Zone 2 type climbs, building that aerobic base without totally burning yourself out. You can sustain the effort for longer.
So it's not automatic laziness, it's a tool you can use strategically.
Totally. JJ Glass 5385 put it bluntly on Reddit. You can ride lazy, sure, but their group absolutely shred on e-bikes. It really comes down to how you ride it.
Okay, but what about skills? We saw a comment from Dreo worrying about not learning to unweight the bike properly, lifting it over roots and rocks.
That's a valid point, especially for the technical grade 3 to 5 trails you ride. If the motor helps you power through stuff, you might not develop that finesse as much. It's a potential trade-off.
Something to be aware of then.
Definitely. But remember, you can always turn the assist way down or even off, like Skateboard North said. You can still practice those skills. Though Mentor Pro Attitude did argue the kind of fitness might differ, and others mentioned missing that raw feeling of earning a climb purely on leg power.
Right, that sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. So for you, the listener, an e-bike doesn't have to mean less fitness. You can get a serious workout. It just depends entirely on how you approach the ride and use the assistance. You might even find you ride more.
Okay, that's really clarified the fitness aspect. Now, what about the bike you already love? That regular trail bike. Is it destined for eBay once the e-bike arrives?
Probably not. Almost everything we saw suggests people keep and use both. Many riders have a quiver, right? They use them for different things.
Like what specifically?
Well, for those grade 3-5 trails you enjoy, your regular bike might still be the weapon of choice for shorter loops or really technical sections where you want that lightweight agility and direct trail feel, that pure unassisted challenge, as one source put it.
Yeah, I get that. Sometimes you just want that raw connection, especially on trails you know well.
For sure. Now, Jakuri did say they sold their regular bike eventually, but still appreciated what it offered. So, paths can diverge.
Yeah.
But they also said the eMTB made climbing fun again and meant way more downhill laps per ride.
So it changes the type of fun, maybe. Less focus on the uphill sufferfest, more on maximizing the descending or exploring further.
Exactly. It adds a different dimension. Max Cycles mentioned that descending often feels better on a regular bike, lighter, less muted, more feedback from the trail. So they each have their place.
So less of a replacement, more of an expansion of your riding options.
That seems to be the common experience.
Yeah.
You choose the right tool for the job or the mood on any given day.
All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts. The arguments for and against, specifically for someone like you riding challenging trails. What are the big pros?
Well, the most obvious one for grade 3 to 5 stuff is making those steep technical climbs just easier. Less grinding, more flowing. That's a consistent theme.
Which leads to...
Extended range. Suddenly you can explore trails further out, link up sections you couldn't before, cover more ground in the same amount of time. Big plus.
And riding with others.
Huge benefit there. It can be a great equalizer. If you ride with people who are maybe faster or fitter, the e-bike helps you keep up, makes group rides more enjoyable for everyone. No more waiting at the top of every climb.
I can see the appeal of that. What else?
Self-shuttling. Getting more downhill runs without needing a car or uplift service.
Yeah.
Also, accessibility. Maybe it makes tackling really tough terrain less intimidating. And we saw mentions of it being great for injury recovery, too.
So more riding, easier climbs, keeping up with faster mates.
Yeah, and potentially turning trails you found a bit dull into something more fun because you can attack them differently or link them into bigger loops. Lots of potential positives.
Okay, but it can't all be sunshine and extra laps. What are the downsides we need to weigh up?
Cost is the big unavoidable one. E-bikes are just significantly more expensive up front than comparable regular bikes. Even the more affordable options are still a big investment.
And then there's the weight, right? That's got to make a difference on technical trails.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You're adding, what, 10, 20, maybe even 30 pounds or more compared to your current bike? That affects handling, flicking the bike around manuals, bunny hops, muscling it through rock gardens. It feels different. And lifting it onto a car rack or over fences, not fun.
Yeah, that heavier feel could definitely change the character of those grade 3-5 trails.
It does. And that extra weight and power puts more strain on components. Drivetrains, brakes, tires, wheels, they tend to wear out faster, so ongoing costs can be higher too.
Right, more maintenance, more replacing parts.
Plus, you've got the whole battery thing. Charging it, managing the
I
range.
don't know.
You got to think about it. Range anxiety can be real, and it depends on so many factors: terrain, assist level, your weight, even the temperature.
So more planning involved before a ride?
Definitely. And maintenance is inherently more complex with motors and batteries involved,
Yeah.
potential for tech issues. Then there's trail access. You have to check the rules where you ride. Not all trails allow e-bikes. The Class 1 pedal assist are generally the most accepted.
And the social side again, etiquette.
Yeah, that comes up. Concerns about speed on shared trails, potential for conflict with other users like hikers. Some traditionalists still have issues, the whole earning your turns debate. And some people just don't like the motor noise.
Lots to chew in there. It's definitely not a simple yes or no.
Not at all. It's about weighing those specific pros and cons against how you ride and what you value most.
Okay, so if you decide to go for it, the next question is, which type of e-bike? Top end, super powerful, or something more mid-range?
For your kind of trail riding, grade 3-5, a good mid-range e-bike is probably going to be perfectly capable. Top-end bikes offer, better components, maybe lighter weight, potentially bigger batteries, but you pay a serious premium.
The key difference seems to be this full power versus SL or lightweight thing we keep seeing. Can you break that down?
Sure. Full-power e-bikes generally have bigger motors, lots of torque, 85 newton meters or more, and large batteries, maybe 600 watt-hours plus. Bikes like the Specialized Levo, Trek Rail, they give you maximum assist, flattened climbs.
Okay, the powerhouses.
Right. Then you have the SL, lightweight or mid-power category. Lower torque, maybe 50, 60 newton meters, smaller motors, smaller batteries like 320 to 500 watt-hours. Think Orbe Arise, Specialized Levo SL.
And the benefit there is?
They're lighter, generally handle more like a regular mountain bike, feel more natural to pedal, especially when you're going faster than the motor assist limit. The goal is less about brute force, more about a subtle, supportive boost.
So for technical trails, maybe the SL bikes have an advantage in handling, even if they don't have quite as much grunt on the steepest climbs.
That's often the idea, yeah. The lighter weight and more natural feel can be really beneficial on twisty, technical single track. The torque figure is a good indicator of climbing power, while the battery size, watt-hours, tells you about potential range.
And some bikes let you tune the power.
Yeah, like the Orbe Arise has different modes you can set via software, so you can kind of customize the feel. Ultimately, if you're constantly tackling super steep, long climbs, full power might be appealing. Otherwise, a mid-power bike might offer a more balanced and engaging ride for the trails you like.
Worth trying both, if possible, I guess.
Absolutely. Test rides are crucial for feeling that difference.
Now, back to that beloved regular bike. Let's be honest. If you shell out for an eMTB, is the Old Faithful really going to see much action?
The consensus seems to be.
Yes.
Absolutely. Like we said, lots of people own and ride both. They choose based on the day, the trail, the company, their energy levels.
So the regular bike keeps its role for certain rides.
Definitely. Those shorter, punchy local loops, rides where you specifically want that pure physical challenge or those nimble handling on super techy stuff, the regular bike will likely still be your go-to for that.
So it becomes part of a toolkit rather than being replaced.
That's the idea.
Mm.
Jakiri mentioned still riding the regular bike on weekends, even with an eMTB in the garage. It gives you options, which is always good.
Okay, last question before we wrap things up. The friends factor. Is getting an e-bike social suicide in the mountain bike world? Will you lose riding buddies?
Look, there's still some debate and, yeah, maybe some lingering stigma in certain circles. We saw that in the sources. Some people have strong opinions about e-bikes being cheating or whatever.
But it's changing.
It really seems to be. E-bikes are way more common now. Lots of experienced riders use them. As John Eraser said on Reddit, acceptance is growing. The novelty is wearing off, and people are seeing the benefits.
So maybe some gentle ribbing, but probably not outright ostracization.
Probably not, especially if your friends are reasonable. The advice from Swordfish Egg 8514 was basically, don't worry about the haters, just go have fun. But it is important to be a good ambassador, you know?
How so?
Be mindful of your speed, especially on shared trails or when passing. Don't blow past hikers or uphill riders unsafely. Be courteous. Good trail etiquette goes a long way no matter what bike you're on. It helps reduce friction.
Good point. Be cool. Don't give people reasons to complain.
Exactly. So unlikely you'll lose many friends, but being considerate helps smooth things over.
Okay, so bringing it all together for you, the listener, to make this decision, what are the absolute key questions you need to sit down and answer for yourself?
All right, let's list them. 1, what's your main goal? More distance, easier climbs, keeping up, or is the physical struggle part of the appeal you don't want to lose?
2,
Budget. Not just the bike, but potential higher running costs, tires, chains, brake pads. Can you comfortably afford it?
3, wait. How much does that extra heft bother you for handling on your typical grade 3 to 5 trails and for lifting and transport?
4, range. How far do you realistically ride now, and how far do you want to ride? Does the potential range of the e-bike match your ambitions?
5, trail access. Check the specific rules for e-bikes where you ride most often. Are they allowed? Any restrictions?
6, etiquette. How do you feel about potentially riding faster, especially uphill, and managing interactions with other trail users?
And maybe most importantly,
7, try one. Seriously, test ride a couple of different eMTBs, ideally on trails, and maybe ride your regular bike right after. And nothing beats feeling the difference yourself.
solid advice. And just quickly, on the sources we used, how should you weigh them?
Well, the expert reviews from bike sites and manufacturers give you good technical details and testing insights, but remember, they also sell bikes. The forums like Reddit are gold mines for real-world user experiences, but their subjective, sometimes biased, opinions vary wildly.
And YouTube.
Similar great visuals, writer perspectives, but can be influenced by sponsorships or personal preferences. Personal stories are just that, individual experiences. Studies offer data, but might have narrow focus. So triangulate, Look for consensus, but also consider the sources angle.
Okay, so wrapping this up for our listener, thinking about that e-trail bike.
Look, your fitness is largely up to you. Your regular bike, probably still going to get lots of love. E-bikes open doors, more range, easier climbs on tough trails, but they come with costs, weight, and new things to think about.
A mid-range bike might be plenty. And don't sweat the friends thing too much, just ride considerately.
Exactly. It boils down to your priorities, your budget, and what kind of riding experience you're ultimately looking for.
The decision's yours. Hopefully this gives you a clearer picture, maybe time to book some demos.
Definitely sounds like a good next step. And maybe a final thought for you to ponder. You love riding challenging grade 3, 4, and 5 trails. As e-bikes get even more capable, could they actually start changing what we even consider rideable terrain? Could they push trail design and rider progression in totally new directions? Something to think about for the future of the sport you love.